tennis at home class. So if you guys are watching this live, thanks very much for tuning in. If you're watching it recorded on our YouTube channel at Live Love Sport, hope you enjoy the class. This is our third class in the series, and we're trying to do about 6 to 8 of these over the course of lockdown that you can copy at home, or you can work together with your children if you're an adult, or if you want to work with your brother or sister, you can have a go at these exercises, and you can do them in your lounge or in a safe space at home. So if you're watching, I hope you enjoy what you're going to do today. The class is going to last for about 30 minutes today. Our first 2 lessons were probably more like 40 minutes, 45 minutes, which I thought was a little bit on the long side. So I'm just going to keep it a bit shorter today. So fingers crossed. I said you have a really good time doing the class. You need lots of energy and a little bit of kit, obviously. Every week we have to try and work with a little bit of kit. So today's class, as always, you're going to need the most important thing, which is your tennis racket. We're going to be doing our warm-ups with our rackets this week. And then we're also going to be working with some slightly bigger balls. So I've managed to find a sort of, it's a soft, like balloon type ball that we use at home. And I've also got a sort of 7-inch ball here that you use for dodgeball or things like that. If you've got a football or any kind of ball you can find in the garden, you can use it for this class. And we're going to show you a couple of exercises that you can do that really help with your tennis. And we're going to use these bits of kit this week. Okay, so as always, we start off with a warm-up. So we're going to spend a couple of minutes just getting our body moving. In the last couple of lessons, we've talked about balance and making sure when we move around a bit and we get warmed up, we think about keeping our body in balance. So the first thing we do is just get nice and light on our feet. And again, we just sort of repeat what we've done for the last couple of weeks. We try to bounce from one foot to the other. And we feel like we're jogging on the spot, but we're not really jogging. We're just trying to sort of move our feet and just get that sense of balance. And then we skip to the right and skip to the left. And again, as we start to sidestep, we start to feel like our balance is still maintained and a good posture. So if you remember in our previous weeks, we had that nice bent leg position. Our hands were maybe out in front, nice straight back at the back there. And that's how we want to kind of keep our body as we start to move our feet. So we're just starting to move from side to side again. And then we shuffle to the right, shuffle to the left, shuffle to the right, and then back to the middle again. And back on our toes. Those movements to the side, if you're really young players and you're watching this, they're called side steps. We use them a lot in tennis when we're moving around the tennis court. We can keep our eyes focused on what's happening on the other side of the net. And it also helps us to learn to change direction. So I can change from this side to this side really quickly and keep my balance at the same time. So again, here's our third set. So on our toes, and it's side step this way, side step to the other side, side step back, and then back to the middle and back on your toes. And again, one more time. So side step to the right, side step to the left, one more time, and back to the middle. Brilliant. Okay, now we're going to just add a couple of other bits and pieces on top. So we're going to do some bigger arm circles this week. So we keep on our feet, but we make some nice big arm circles. My arms are going forwards, so you can see they're going right around the back and over the top at the front. So it looks like I'm doing the butterfly if I was at a swimming pool. And then we're going to change. And we're going to move our hands backwards this time. So keep our feet moving still, but getting our arms going backwards as well. Very good. So it's important that we warm up our shoulders as well as our feet. And it's important that we work on how big those circles can become. So we get nice big range of movement. So we'll combine that one. So we go to the side, one more time to the side and back. And then we're going to go forwards like this. And then backwards like this. Fantastic. And again to the side, one more time, back to the middle, and then forwards, one more big circle, and then our last one is backwards and backwards. Good. Okay, so well done. That's the beginning of our warm-up. We're also going to do a warm-up using our racket today. So in our previous classes, we've used our racket at the end of the tennis lesson, and we've been looking at how we swing the racket, but now we know how to swing it, we can start using it in our warm-up. So just make sure you've got lots of space. There's nothing that you can trip over. Remember, when we swing our racket and we're playing from home, we've got to be super careful that we're not going to swing and crash into anything that's valuable or that can break. And also, we don't want to go crashing into things ourselves. So we have to make sure that we've got enough space to move our feet and be able to swing our racket correctly. So we're going to start off with a nice easy one. The first exercise again, we're going to go from our ready position, we're going to jump, we're going to move, and we're going to swing on our forehand, and then we're going to jump, move, and we're going to swing on our backhand. Now remember, when we're learning how to play tennis, we have to know the difference between our forehands and our backhands. So if we look at the front of our hand, on my strong side, so I'm a right-handed player, this is my strong side, this is going to be my forehand, and on the other side, if I put my hand to the opposite side, you can see my arm comes across my body, and then my backhand has got the back of my hand facing forward. And for this shot, when we do backhands, we do two hands. So we start off in our ready position, that means we're ready for the ball to come to us, and we're going to do a jump, and we're going to do a forehand, and move to the other side, and do a backhand. Back to the middle, toes moving, a jump, move to one side, forehand, back, and backhand. And then back to the middle, toes moving, one more time, jump, move to the side, forehand, other side, and backhand. And then back to the middle. Okay, well done. That was 3 good swings, 3 good forehands, 3 good backhands, and we followed it after we'd done a jump and a split step. This time we're going to go a little bit faster, and remember, when you're doing your backhand, those of you who are swinging and doing this kind of action, try to have 2 hands on your racket and try to take your racket up to your shoulders. You don't have to swing super fast. Remember, it's a warm-up, so we're just building into our skills. We're not trying to do them at 100 miles an hour, or we're not trying to do them at the best speed we can. We're just trying to do them correctly, and then we can start to build the speed into it. So again, toes moving, a split step, move, forehand, back. We'll do a split step again, and then our backhand. And back, toes moving, split step, forehand, back, split step, and our backhand. And toes moving, one more time, split step, forehand, back, split step, and our backhand, and then relax. Good, that's 3 sets. It's a really good number to try and warm up. We're not trying to remember to do it for too long, we're just trying to make a nice, easy skill, and we're trying to make sure that we get our heart rate moving a bit higher, and also we're thinking a little bit about how we're swinging our racket. So in that example, we had our split step, and then we had a one-handed swing, and we had a split step, and then we had a two-handed swing, and we made the racket move on one side of our body, and we switched and made it move on the other side of our body. Okay, well done. So that's the warm-up finish. We can put our racket down and we can move to some skills with our balls. Okay, so I'm going to start off with this one here. If you guys are copying at home, you can pick up your football, or if you've got a balloon or something like that, that would work. As I said before, it doesn't really matter. I've got a slightly bigger ball here. This is quite soft. You can see it's quite squidgy, so it's definitely not going to bounce and crash into anything. But again, remember, if you start playing around with the balls in the home, then you've got to be careful that you're not going to throw it around and break anything. Okay, so first exercise we're going to do with our balls is going to try to see if we can rotate our body. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my right hand on one side and my left hand on the other, and we're just going to start working on rotating our body like this. So with both hands still attached to the ball in front, I'm going to rotate to one side and then back to the middle, and rotate to the other side and back to the middle. Okay, so it's quite a simple exercise. We'll just show you again. You just take your ball or your football and you plant your right hand on one side and your left hand on the other, and you get into a nice position like you did with your ready position, and then you just turn to the side, come back to the middle, and turn to the other side. Okay, one more time. Turn to the side, back to the middle, and turn to the other side. Well done, everybody. That was a really easy exercise for us to start turning our shoulders and feeling like we're rotating our body. So we'll do it one more time again. We'll put our right hand on and our left hand on. Keep that nice posture so you can see sideways on. I've still got my back nice and straight, and I've got a little bit of flex in my knees. Feel like I'm ready to move, but this time out in front, we're going to keep those arms a bit straight, and we're going to rotate and back to the middle, and rotate one more time and back to the middle. We'll do 3 sets. So we go 1 and 2, and this is our last one, guys. Again, keep those arms straight, ball out in front, and rotate 1 and then rotate 2. Fantastic, well done, thumbs up. Okay, excellent. So you should have been practicing your rotation. Now rotation is a word we use as coaches in tennis classes all the time, and it means where our body is turning. So it feels like our body is going around itself, and that's something we definitely use in tennis when we start to be able to play forehands and backhands, and it's really important for us to learn how to do it once again. Now if you don't have a ball, so let's say you've forgotten to bring a ball to the class or you haven't got one handy, you can just do it without the ball. So all I do is I make a big triangle in front like this, so you can see there's that V shape with my triangle because the palms of my hands are together, and I'm going to try and keep that connection. So connection means when something is joined together, and I'm going to try and keep that nice V, and then I'm just going to turn and keep that first one with that arm nice and straight, and then back to the middle and point back to me, and then turn again and point back to me, turn again and to the other side, and we'll do it one more time, so that makes 3. Ready? 1, back to the middle, and 2. Good. So as long as we get those arms connected, or the hands connected to something, it doesn't really matter whether we've got the big ball to play with or not. It's better with the ball. It feels like we're moving something. It's a bit more fun to try it. But obviously if you don't have a ball to hand and you're at home and you just want to practice that, you can just do it with your hands clasped together, and you can try and keep that nice V shape. Can you see it there? That's a good position. So we feel like we're learning how to keep that connection. Okay, really cool. So just to recap, so we've been doing our warm-ups and some easy exercises that will help us with our body turns and starting to learn how to swing. And we've been playing for about 10 minutes or so, so you're watching the @Wimbledon Park Tennis Facebook Live channel. And if you're watching live, hopefully you're copying some of these exercises. You've done the warm-up with us. Remember, my name is Steve Cockell, and I'm the Director of Tennis for Wimbledon Park Tennis Academy and Live Love Sport. And we always try at 4 o'clock every Thursday to do a few tennis exercises for our young players that are aged between 3 and 8, maybe a little bit older if you want to do it. And it just helps you remember to think about your tennis, even though you can't get on the tennis courts during lockdown. So these are easy exercises you can try at home. You can do them with a partner. Today's class I'm doing on my own, but normally my son Freddie will help out. And if you need a partner, you could ask your mum and dad to help you, or maybe your brother or sister, and you can start to do some of these exercises together. So if you wanted to pass that ball to each other, you can do that rotation exercise as a team, or if you take it in turns to copy the swings that we practice in the class, you can do it with a partner like that as well. So you don't need to have a partner, but sometimes it's fun to practice together. Okay, next thing is we pick our rackets back up again. What we're going to do is we're going to start to see how that rotation movement helps us with our tennis swing. So we know the two names of the words, so we know the names of the tennis strokes we use the most. So we talk about our forehands and we talk about our backhands. Now if we do a forehand, remember, we tend to teach one hand on our forehand, one arm is moving the racket forwards, and on the other side when we switch, we use two hands to move our racket forwards and upwards as well. And remember the difference between the two. If you're young players and you don't know the difference, one hand and two hand does work, but it's also easy to remember that my strong hand, the front of my hand is pointed towards you guys if I'm doing a forehand, and if I'm on the other side, my arm comes across and my strong hand, it's the back of my hand, which is why it's called a backhand. And the back of my hand is pointed forward. It's just when we do that move, we have two hands on the racket as well. It just helps us feel like we're nice and strong when the ball hits the strings. It doesn't make the racket wobble too much. Okay, so we decided we were going to look at rotation. So again, if you look at my triangle there, I'm going to try and see if I can do my ready position. And this time what I'm going to do is turn, and as I turn, I'm going to split my hands. So my left hand, as I'm looking at it here, is pointed forwards and my racket goes back. And then I swing and I come back to my ready position. So we're trying to learn to turn and keep our hands on the racket. That's that same rotation we were practicing with the big ball. We split our hands and then we swing to the top. And one more time, again, we try and do it in threes. We turn, you can see I haven't moved my hands yet. Split my hands and then swing to the top. Okay, so I can see that again face on. So again, there's my connection. I've got both hands on the racket. I'm going to turn as if I was turning that ball, my exercise before. Split my hands and then I swing up to the top. And again, one more time. Keep my hands connected on the racket, turn, and then I split my hands and then I swing to the top. And we do it one more time. Turn, split my hands and swing to the top. Okay, did you practice that? Did you manage to get your hands to stay together on the racket rather than splitting them too quick? Because when we play tennis, sometimes we realise that players, they know their coach asked them to get their racket back behind them. So Maybe you guys have had a coach who said, get your racket back quickly, and then you're like this straight away, which is a really good position to be in. But we want to try to keep our arms connected and hands connected to the racket a little bit longer. So we turn first and then they split. And now you can see my arm is over in this position rather than pointed straight down towards you guys at home. So we'll do it one more time again. So there's that nice ready position, my racket's in front. I turn, I keep my hands on the racket, and then I can move my feet and change to get my racket behind me. And then I swing up, and we'll go one more time. Turn, split my hands and swing up. And the last one, set of 3, turn and swing up. Magic, well done. Good, now if we come back again, just have a look. There's that position again. You can see my arm has gone into the same position we're using the ball as I was trying to do with my forehand. So using that ball and learning how to rotate helps us learn where to get our arms into good positions when it comes to playing our forehand. And it'll be the same on this side. So if I connect with my ball or if I connect with my hands and I turn, I can get that arm in the right position, my shoulder pointing to you guys at home. And then when I swing, I'm in a very good position. I've rotated my body and I feel like I can get my racket up to the top. So we're going to have a go at that together again on our backhand side. So remember, backhand is where I can see the back of my hand on the bottom of the racket. So can you guys see the back of my hand here? And then we have 2 hands on and we're going to turn to this side. You can see that arm is nice and straight and I'm pointing my shoulder towards you. I've rotated and then I'm going to swing up to the top. So we do 3 together. That was 1. So again there, that's 2 and 1 more. Turn and 3. Okay, great, and we're back to our ready position. Let's try and do that again, but let's move our feet in between. So if I just get my feet moving a tiny bit like this, and I do my split step, you remember that from the beginning of the lesson? So I move my feet, split step, and then I'm going to turn and swing. That's 1. Split step, turn, remember, and swing. Really feel like those arms are turning nice and a long way around your body. Last one, ready? Split step, and turn, and swing. Great, that's 3. Now let's see if we can combine it all. So we're going to really look for that rotating in our body on both sides, but we're going to add our split step in and we're going to see if we can do 3 forehands and 3 backhands. I think we're going to go 1 and then 2. So a forehand followed by a backhand, and we'll make sure we do a split step in between. So if you can copy me, get your racket out in front, get your toes moving, and we do our split step, turn, swing to the top, that's 1. Back on our toes. And again, split step, turn, there's that arm position, swing to the top, that's 2. So we're going to try and do 2 more sets. Split, swing, split, swing, split, swing, and 1 more, split, there's that turn, nice rotation, and swing. Well done, well done. If you've been watching that little example, you're working on your rotation, the ability for your body to turn before you let it come out of that position and swing like you're doing a tennis forehand or a tennis backhand. If we learn to rotate, we can start to turn our body in a way which is very, very helpful for us as tennis players. We get more power, for example, if we come out of this position and we swing. If our body is rotating, if it's turning, it's going to help us create more power in our swing. And you guys who are young players, you really want to get power because it's much more fun to see your ball travelling quickly than it is to just move the racket a little bit and see the ball just go gently over the net. Okay, great. So what I recommend just quickly is we just have a quick 30-second timeout and you can have a drink and then I'll come back and we'll just see if we can get the class going again. And what we're going to do with the next bit is we're going to go back to some things we did last week. We're just going to repeat some of the things we did so you don't forget them. And then we're going to go back and play a few games towards the end of the class. Okay, we've got about 10 more minutes to go. So grab yourself a drink. Okay, cool. So if you come back again and you grab your drink, you get back into your position ready to play. I just want to remember a few things from last week. If you remember, we worked with scarves last week. So if you're watching this lesson for the first time and you go, what the hell are those? These are scarves or juggle squares. And just a quick thing for those, if we throw them up in the air, we can start to learn how to catch them in our class. We can learn how to be able to get different positions going with our juggle squares. It's quite an easy thing to do some reactions, so I can try and feel like I'm able to cross my hands over and catch. There's some really good fun coordination games with those. And also last week we worked a little bit with these things, which are bean bags. Now, you guys have bean bags in your PE lessons, I'm sure, at school, when you're at school. What we want to do with our bean bags is pop them on our strings of our racket, and what they do, if we flick them up a bit like pancakes, they sit on our strings a little bit easier. If I use a tennis ball, and I do the same thing, and I just let it hit there, you can see if I haven't got my strings in the right position, the ball will bounce off our strings. So for young players, parents at home, you can get these from loads of different places, obviously online. Zig.com is a really good place to buy loads of kit you might want to use at home for your tennis lesson. So go to Zig.com and you can pick up some bean bags. And again, all you're trying to do with these is just catch them on the strings or play a little game of pancake tennis. You can start to build up the strength in your arm by working with your bean bag. So if you get good at flicking one up, you could try to add another one just to get a little bit more weight into your racket, which is really helpful for building up that strength in your arm. So the last couple of weeks we've been doing scarves and bean bags, and if you can get hold of those, you can watch the previous lessons and you can try some of the exercises we did with those bits of kit. Okay, so now we've had our little break, we're back into the last part of our lesson. And for our last part of our lesson, we're going to add another shot. So we've been working on our forehands and our backhands, and the last one we're going to work on is going to be our volley skills. So you guys who've been in my class before, you know that we talk about the difference between a forehand and a backhand and a volley as being the difference between when the ball bounces before we hit it or if we hit it before the bounce. But we can have a forehand volley and a backhand volley, so it's not really forehand and backhand being different to volleys. It's more about the idea of a volley being a shot that we play any time before the ball hits the floor. So we have to make sure that we've got slightly different skills to practice our volley. So what we're going to try and do to start off with is just learn the swings again. So again, when we're working at home, we don't really have the ability to be able to play our shots so much. But I haven't got a partner with me this week. Normally, if you're working with somebody, you can get somebody just to throw you the ball gently and you can tap it back. So what I'm going to do is I've got a wall to the side of me here, and you can see if I just start hitting the ball against the wall, you can see that I'm just starting to do a volley, which means I'm hitting the ball before the ball has a chance to bounce. So we're going to kind of work on that, and I'm going to try and do this bit sideways on because my target is going to be facing the wall here, and it'll help you as well. You can start to see when I'm volleying what kind of movements I use my racket at. So fingers crossed this will work quite nicely for you to see it in actual live action. So if you don't have a wall, for example, or if you speak to your parents and you think it's a bit dangerous, certainly don't want to be whacking real tennis balls against the wall if there's things that can be broken. So make sure you find a safe place. For this exercise, I picked one of these guys. This is a soft sponge ball. Again, you can buy that from Zig.com. They come in packs of like 6. They're quite cheap. And it's really soft. And again, if it goes flying around, it's not going to break anything. So a really handy bit of kit for us to be able to hit the ball indoors with. So first thing we're going to look at with the volley, again, is our posture. So I'm sideways on. You can see I'm trying to stick my butt out a little bit, get some flex in my knees, keep my back nice and straight at the right angle. And I've got my hands out in front. But when I'm working on my volley swing, you can see my racket now is quite high up and it's not going to go back too far. So on my forehand swing, when I rotated and I split, my racket went a long way back and it went a long way forward. So it's a much bigger, it's a slightly more low to high swing that we're starting to work on our forehand with. When we do our volley, we're going to keep our racket up and we're going to make a much shorter, more like a pushing action with our racket, and that's going to help us for a couple of reasons, and I'll explain them quickly to you now so that you know, okay? Or you can shout them out if you're listening to the class because you might know them already. So one of the main reasons we have our racket up is because we're going to be near to the net. So if the net is about this high, about level with my waist, if I'm standing near to it, the ball is going to be coming over the net at a little bit higher position. So my contact point, where I'm going to make contact with the ball, is definitely going to be higher. It's not going to be coming down where the net is unless it's a really tricky one. Okay, so we tend as young players to work on the idea of keeping our racket up and moving our racket like this, a pushing action forward. The second one, I don't know if you can remember from your tennis lessons before what the second idea would be, why we actually move the racket in a short action. If anybody knows that, then top marks for you guys. But if you haven't played much tennis before, you might not know why we move the racket in a short direction like this. And it's because we don't have as much time because of where we're standing. So when I'm in this position and the ball comes to me, I have to be ready for it nice and quick, which means I don't have time to take it all the way back here, and I have to do a short swing and a push forward. And that's going to allow me to be ready for the ball in time and to make a good contact on the ball. So we're going to have a little look at that. So if you've got your partner, you want them standing in front of you here. So if they're behind the camera, they'd be in front of me here, and they're just going to throw you the ball, and you're going to try to volley the ball back. And I recommend that you do it on your strong side. So we want to keep it in this position. This is our forehand position. Remember, front of the hand pointed forward, and we're trying to push the racket and just gently tap that ball back to our partner. So if I throw it against the wall and I tap it back, I can feel like I'm doing a hit and then coming back to my ready position. So again, let's just try and do it one more time. So we're going to throw it against the wall, tap, and come back and catch. Throw it against the wall, tap, and come back and catch. One more again, against the wall, tap, and catch. You can see I had to just make a little bit of a change of my racket position on the last one because the wall was a bit lower. So one of the great things about tennis is you have to practice keeping your strings where you think the ball would be. So if my racket is too high up and the ball goes too low, I'll make a missed swing. I've got to make sure my racket gets to where the ball is going to be. Okay, so we've had a practice with throwing. Now you should switch over, maybe let your partner have a go. I'll carry on. So my partner's the wall, so I've got a ready-made partner all the time. I'm the only one doing the hitting skills. So again, I'm going to throw it against the wall and volley it back, and then I catch it. Throw it against the wall, volley it back and catch. Against the wall, there's that swing and catch. I'm going to do 3 more. 2 more. And then the last one. Good, well done. Did anybody see me do a huge swing for that exercise? Hopefully not. Hopefully you saw sideways on there that my racket was just moving in a very short action, and my head of my racket, where the strings are, was always trying to stay upwards. So I didn't drop my racket down here. I always had my racket up here as I was trying to play. Excuse me. How did you get on with that? Hopefully your partner threw you some nice balls and you could just volley them back and they could catch it quite easily. And of course, if you're the person doing the throwing and you're catching as well, that's really helping you with your reaction. So even if I throw the ball against the wall and I catch it like this, I'm getting my hands in a position that helps me with my volleying skills. It helps me with my reactions. So if I can practice my tennis a little bit with the ball coming towards me and then I react to where it is, that means my eyes are starting to track the ball. I'm starting to see where that ball is coming, and I'm really working on my skills to help me with my catching, or in this case, eventually with my hitting skills. Okay, now once you've got the hang of that, said if you have a wall in front of you, maybe outside in the garden, or if you want somebody just to keep throwing you the balls, you can start to do a little bit of a mega set. So we did sets of 3 most of the way through the tennis lesson, and we put our split step in between. Now I'm going to try and see if I can volley the ball, and we do this in each class. We try and do it for time. So instead of doing a set of 10 or a mega set like that, what we're going to do is we're going to try and volley for 30 seconds, and you're going to try and count how many volleys you can do inside that time. And then we're going to have another go and see if we can beat it. So we're always interested in trying to do a good job of the skill that the coach is telling us, and then we try and think, okay, how could I do it better? We improve it and we see if we can get a slightly better set. So I'm going to start in 5 seconds. I'm going to try and do my 30 seconds. You guys can do it along. Remember, throw at one side, ball in hand, rack it up, don't hit it too hard. Every time you hit the ball, you get 1 point, and you've got to try and do as many hits as you can inside our 30 seconds. 3, 2, 1, let's go. So 1, 2, 3. I won't count the whole way through. Just going to try and concentrate and see if I can get a few volleys going on. So that's 12, 13, 14, 15. Keeping it under control, keeping that racket in the same position. Hope you're getting on all right. I've got control of mine, and I'm going to stop in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and stop. Okay, so I think I went just slightly over. It's quite hard for me to volley and look at my watch at the same time. Okay, so also I lost count completely, but I think I tried to get to about 30. So if you guys have counted your score, don't worry about what I got, because I'm doing against the wall. It's going to be a little bit faster. So if you got to 10, or if you even got to 5, that's brilliant. If you dropped the ball when someone was throwing it to you, or you missed it completely, don't worry. Just make sure you're having some fun trying. And remember the things that we're teaching you. If you do a small swing like this, then the ball isn't going to travel out of control. It's going to go back to the person that's throwing it to you, and you'll get a point for that. So that could be a really good way of beating your score. If you could just make your racket a little bit smaller when you're swinging it, just hang on 2 seconds, then that's a good way of trying to get a little bit more, slightly more numbers in this game. So we'll give it one more time, one more try. Again, 30 seconds, and off we go. It's going to go a bit quiet as we concentrate. Hopefully someone's doing some good throws to you. Again, watch my racket. If you're just watching this in the video, you can see my racket is very short. The strings are pointed upwards. Just keeping that ball under control. We're going to do 5 seconds. Keep going. I'll tell you when to stop. 3, 2, and 1. Keep going. And stop. 30 seconds. Okay, did you beat your score? So if you got the first round, you got 5 volleys back to your partner inside 30 seconds. Did you manage to get 6? If you got 10, did you manage to beat it and get 11 or 12? And if you did, how did you do that? Did you manage to do it because you were concentrating on your swing a little bit more? Or was the throwing a little bit better? Or did you try not to hit it quite so hard and then you had more control over the ball? Okay, so like all of our exercises at the end of the class, we always try and do something that is competitive. So again, for you younger players, I think you know what a competition is. It's all about trying to maybe keep to a set of rules and see if you can do your best to be the winner of a game. When we play at home, we might have to have a competition against our mum or our dad, or we might be able to play against our brother or sister. But it's always good to challenge ourselves to see if we can do well in the competition, even if we're not the winner. So with those examples in all of our lessons, at the end of each class, we always try and do a challenge and do it for 30 seconds, and then see if we can redo the challenge with some extra information that will help us, and then we can see if we've done better in our competition. Okay, I'm going to put my racket down, and we're going to finish up our tennis lesson today. So we have practiced our forehand swings and our backhand swings and our volleys at the end there. We've managed to move into hitting against a wall, and we've also looked at the different shapes of our swings. But if you remember at the beginning of the class, the key thing that we were trying to get today's class, and we spent more about this than anything else, was using our football or our larger ball and trying to learn to rotate our body and feel what rotation actually feels like in our body itself and what it means. So rotation means turning our body, and we do it in tennis to be able to create power as we get older and we play a slightly longer and faster game. So I've been Steve Cockell. Hopefully you've enjoyed following this lesson 3 of our mini tennis lesson at home. If you've been following it, great, thanks very much. If you're watching it live, again, thanks for tuning in. You can follow all of our videos on @LiveLoveSport. We haven't been doing it long, so there's not loads of videos on there, so hopefully you enjoy this series and you can look forward to the next one. The classes are running live on Facebook every Thursday at 4 PM, and they're on @Wimbledon Park Tennis, which is where you can find me and the videos that we put out and any other news to do with the Wimbledon Park Tennis site. That's the end of today's class. Have a great weekend. Stay safe as always, and keep practicing your tennis in lockdown. Remember, you don't need to be on a tennis court. You can do loads of cool stuff at home, and you can get all of this kit online at zig.com, or if you want to, you can send us a message, and we're always happy to provide some advice about how you can play tennis at home while you're stuck in lockdown.